Since it's the thing I'm most loved to do.
See Burger passed me all the time. Wait, he just passed me and it's just.
The time is 7:02 on Wednesday, January 28th. I'd like to call this Active Transportation and Traffic Safety Advisory Committee. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territory of the Chippewas and Georgia Island, as well as many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation to Aurora, we recognize the special relation to the Chippewas that the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of this land, and as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the Treaty Deed lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas, recognized in Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. A shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. May I have an approval of the agenda? Thank you. Get a second. No. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments on the agenda? Okay. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor for the approval of the agenda? All those opposed? Thank you. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Proceed with the minutes. These are the minutes of November 26, 2025. May I please have a motion to receive the minutes of that meeting? Thank you. Steve, thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Delegations. We have one delegation this evening. Irina, would you like to come to the table? Sure. Thank you. I'm taking the easy way out. I'm going to let you say your own last name. Not a problem. Thank you.
How do you say it?
Sfranciog.
Just say all the.
Sfranciog.
Yes.
So it's phonetic.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You have.
I'm not.
Do you have a question?
No, I said you were about to say 5 minutes. I just said 5 minutes.
Yes, you have 5 minutes.
I won't take 5 minutes, but
Okay.
thank you for having me. So my name is Irina Sfranciog. I'm a resident in Aurora. I live on Limeridge Street, that's in Ward 5. I attended at a council meeting on January 13th, and I delegated in respect of this issue already. All the councillors and the mayor voted in favor of implementing traffic calming measures on Limeridge Street. And I'm here again to speak to you and ask that action be taken and that a decision be made today. Can you please turn to slide 1? Okay, so just so that you understand where we are. Just back up one, please. So Limeridge Street is that S-looking street. It shoots off Gateway and St. John's, and it connects to Kirk Valley and Bayview. It serves as a vital conduit that connects St. John's and Gateway to Kirk Valley and Bayview, and a lot of vehicles use it as a shortcut, and they use it in a very speedy manner. Can you go to slide 2, please? It's important to know that the street has no sidewalks and there is no room for sidewalks. The residents do not want sidewalks. But this leaves residents and especially children with no safe place to walk or play except directly on the roadway. This situation raises significant safety concerns for the community, and residents regularly place orange pylons directly on the road when children are playing on the street. Next slide, please. The need for traffic calming is further heightened by a dangerous blind corner, which is at 55 Limeridge Street, that helps just on the corner. There's overgrown foliage, which greatly reduces visibility for both drivers and pedestrians. And these factors contribute to frequent speeding and makes the street even more hazardous for all residents. Slide 4, please. I went door knocking last summer, and every single house that I canvassed was in support of traffic calming measures. The households that were not, that were 11, just simply didn't answer or were vacant. So that positive approval represents an overwhelming 82% of households in favor of implementing traffic control measures. This consensus has demonstrated with the unanimous vote in favor of installing bollards specifically during the most recent council meeting. We understand that these bollards are removed during the winter to allow for snowplows to pass, and the issue is most pervasive for us in the summertime in any event, so this is aligned with what we are hoping to accomplish. Now, the majority of residents on Limeridge Street have expressed support for traffic calming initiatives. And installing these bollards, we view as a necessary step to ensure the safety of pedestrians and to address the persistent speeding issue on our streets, especially near that blind corner. Without sidewalks, Limeridge is not a safe environment for its residents, and it's the only street in that pocket that doesn't have sidewalks. Children are forced to play on the street, and pedestrians must share their motor vehicles, which increases the risk of accidents. The community has voiced a clear preference for traffic calming measures, supported by resident input to protect all those who use the street, and so we asked for bollards to be installed at 3 sections marked by X's there. So right where you enter the street or on the corner, where the mailboxes are at the top of the street there, and then at the bottom of the street. So any traffic entering or exiting will be slowed down and the pedestrians will be safe. Subject to any questions, that's all I have to tell you today. Thank you.
Thank you. You did a very good delegation, January 13th. The report actually was received for information. Council expressed support, but it wasn't approval, it was just received for information. And then, of course, the motion was for us to go through this again this evening. So thank you. All right, so may I have a mover and a seconder to bring this item to the table? Thank you. Are there any questions of the development?
Actually, I was just wondering, I know that the eastern side of it is not very long, it's 300 meters, but has there ever been a request to YRP to do any enforcement or engagement or education?
Are you talking about this site here on the
Yes.
left? Okay, so that's right. No, there hasn't been. When we initially went about how to approach this, we thought about, if we get a Freedom of Information Act, there wouldn't be any information gathered for that. Right? They did a speed study, obviously we could meet the numerical thresholds to qualify for the automatic implementation of traffic control measures here, but the residents aren't supportive of it. They all have anecdotal and lived experience that they've had near misses or situations where they've almost been run over by speeding drivers. There's Uber, there's Amazon, there's people hurrying home, trying to bypass Gateway, which has its own problems. We're just branch off of that. To answer your question, there hasn't been, and I don't know that would be effective. I don't know that they would capture the information that we're looking for.
Well, I ask because historically, when initiatives have been done in neighborhoods, and I'm not saying I disagree with your delegation or anything, I'm just saying often people who live in that neighborhood are the ones who are actually whipping through the area. So that's why I was kind of asking too. Enforcement would kind of give that information to
There is one incident where the police was called that I'm aware of. I don't know the outcome of it.
Thank you. Was your region, please?
Yeah, that's why I was asking those questions.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're they've changed their complaint system a little bit, having to talk to officers and also looking at, road watch too, because we have road watch, which people can make online reports about cars specifically, and that can be followed up with an interaction, especially if it's aggressive driving. So that's why I'm looking at it from different levels, like, historically, the YRP and the municipalities, transportation department look at it as the triangle of education, enforcement, and engineering, because you really kind of need those three things to address driver behavior.
That's a very fair point. It's not a place where you typically see a police cruiser set up with a radar gun. It's a residential, streets.
Sure.
Thank you.
It would be very interesting if we could know how many people the offenders are, people cutting through it, who are otherwise people living on the street. But I don't think there's any way we could do that.
Not without
Enforcement, plane search, and
or the road watch, making a request to road watch if you see aggressive drivers, you enter the plate time, officers follow up with that driver, and they go through a kind of scaffolded step system on how they interact with that individual. If there's a reoccurrence, then escalation unless it's changed. So it's kind of coupling that education and enforcement as well, trying.
And reporting would be anonymous.
No, you know what, I think they do have a name, I can't remember, because I'm 5 years removed from YRP, so I apologize. I have to look at it online, but there's the mechanism to report, so. Interesting.
But if
I was not aware of that, actually. We might
Yeah,
doing
fair
that
enough.
in summer,
Sure.
but you need the full plate number to catch the plate number.
Yeah. Even with the bollards, if the bollards were to go through, I still think it's something citizens should be aware of. And the officers I interacted with today said, yeah, they should be encouraged to do so, because we want road safety for everyone, right?
Yeah, anything that would increase the safety. Thank you, yes.
I have filed a number of those road watch reports, but you do have to have as much information as possible.
Of course.
From the motorist, the plate number, car identification, time of day, other details, and I've been contacted, follow-up from YRP. And I've asked, I said, is my report anonymous through you? And they have confirmed that that's the case.
Have you had any positive results with that?
I don't know, Heidi would have, as a active police officer, she would have a better idea, but my understanding is exactly as Heidi had suggested, and that goes on a driver's record.
Not the
Well,
Ontario record, it might be in our system.
In your
In our
system, the
road watch,
wire.
yeah, just separate from the
Yeah.
ministry system, as it should be, right?
Oh, still?
Keep track.
Well, for sure, because if a resident calls in about or sends an online, just moving more online, a report about a car that they feel is driving aggressively in their neighborhood, it would be, an interaction, it might be a call, and then it might be escalated to a visit, and then, if the person's not getting the message, we, might have to do other things, but the whole process is education first, right? Unless it's
Yes,
egregious driving.
With all of our bylaws,
Sure.
Yes, but still, it's just as though it's a long term. I like it.
Yeah, YRP.ca, watch.
Are there,
Lenny, sorry, can I ask, just for clarity, you've presented to council?
Yes.
So we had a presentation to council, you have council, where did council sit at the end, where did that end up?
well, the presentation or the delegation was referred to the item
Yeah.
that was on, and it was received for information.
Okay.
So that means there's no action attached to that. But John Gallo did ask and was consented that this issue would come back to us. Because I think we had some emails going around, and it was my understanding that this would come back to us, but I think what you meant is it would come back to council.
So the recommendation was from council for the temporary bollards, or that was the ask?
That was the ask.
Okay.
everything that's on our agenda tonight is part of the ask. And part of the problem is there are no sidewalks, and I know you don't want any, but it's very strange to me that we didn't put at least one sidewalk.
Sorry, Steve, can you just finish?
Yeah, so I wanted to riff on.
Just so yeah, so if we have a roadway and we have residents who are being petitioned, we have a roadway with sidewalks in a family neighborhood, and we know that bollards are effective, low cost traffic calming devices. Do get removed seasonal, but obviously in the snow, people aren't speeding the same way they are in the summer. So then I think we should put forward as a recommendation, that's something that should be addressed by the town.
And
Can I just speak to that, just address that?
Mhm.
Okay, so the residents are not interested in sidewalks.
Yes,
They don't want encroachments on their
Some,
property.
yeah,
And the sidewalks would not accomplish the goal of reducing speed.
I was saying the bollards, not the sidewalks.
Okay.
I was saying you don't have sidewalks, so the bollards make sense because
Yes.
it becomes a playground for children. So,
sorry, hi Matt. You're part of Gary's presentation, thank you. Yes, Gene.
So I'm just, I don't know if I'm off topic here, but I wanted to go backwards before we go forwards and find out what we are going to decide on tonight. So I'm just curious as to the no sidewalks. That is rather unique because every street in that whole neighborhood and almost all of the streets in Aurora and most neighborhoods have a sidewalk. So to the Michaels from the town and maybe to David McLaughlin in terms of street design, why did this street end up with no sidewalks? I'm just curious.
It's very unusual because all of the new subdivisions.
Yes.
With the old part of town, they're often not sidewalks, but the new, I'm thinking, I'm thinking that the way the development was structured, that the street wasn't.
The street wasn't wanting them. I mean, the buyers hadn't bought houses yet. It was probably most likely in the hands of the developer.
That's just my assumption, I'm gonna refer to the.
That's why I said to the Michaels or to David McLaughlin. There's more what street
Can
design.
I add to it? Can I add to it a little bit?
I will let you do that.
I'm also a resident on Limeridge Street, I just live around the corner from Brook. Original owner since 2004 moved in there. There's been no sidewalks, and we've dealt with this for years, right? We've complained about the overgrowth around the corners and stuff.
Yeah.
And is it gonna be, this should already be given to you guys to install 3 bollards on the street, which is what? $2,000 worth of taxpayers' money
I hear
versus
you.
talking about sidewalks and calling wire, and all this other
No, no,
stuff,
no.
right?
We're just going for the
Okay.
background,
Sure.
and then the ask is the bollards. And from what was said, it's really, of course, safety is important all the time, but in the summer, the kids are on the street.
Yeah.
And they're putting up pylons. So, yeah, the bollards, although they have to be removed for snow.
They do that in front of the school right now, in front of St. Jerome with
Yeah.
Northern Lights.
Yeah,
So it's, is it gonna take a fatality to get things done, or is it just us delegating to the committee to get something
Thank you.
done for us, Like,
We haven't gotten around to discussing the bollards. We're still in draft.
okay,
Thank you.
I just wanted that, thank you.
Yes, no, it's important. Thank you. Did you want to say something?
So it's just, for those who doesn't know me, my name is Michael, I'm one of the transportation analysts with the town. So again, thank you, Irina, for the presentation, really appreciate it. So just a couple of things, just want to clarify. So you mentioned about possible infiltrations within Limeridge. But when we're looking at the location of Limeridge and the way how it's being connected, it doesn't look like doesn't look like an obvious location for people who want to infiltrate because you're going backwards. Right? And we did some rough measurement, it's like almost like 200 meters if we were to like use Limeridge as opposed to directly use Cook Valley. So, and we have the traffic data that we collected at Limeridge at multiple locations. And the traffic data is showing us the highest volume that we have for each day is about 270 vehicles, which is considered to be very low for local, even for a local street. First of all, it doesn't meet the warrant for the under the traffic count policy because I think the minimum is 700 vehicles per day, and we have 270 give or take. That's about like 10 cars every hour. And again, that's 24 hours. So that's one thing. Second, about the sidewalk. I hear that the resident doesn't want the sidewalk, but I just want to clarify that we do have enough room. So the right of way for Limeridge right now is 18 meters. The pavement width is about 8.5. So we do have room to put sidewalks. And in fact, it is part of the AT&P. Dave will know that sidewalk is recommended on Limeridge. It's not part of the current capital plan, the 10-year capital plan, but that's something that can always be explored, can change things around. And we are undertaking a new pedestrian facility studies. And that's something that we're going to look at, updating the sidewalk map, having pedestrian safety. So that's the second point. And there was something else that you mentioned about the vegetations on the bands. So that's something that we already forwarded to our forestry department, and they are looking into it. So that's something that those trees or the bushes that is overgrown, they are within the town's right of way. So they're not permitted. So our bylaw is looking into it. Our forestry teams, they're looking into it to trim them down to improve the visibility. And last thing that I just want to make a note that about the development. Yes, it's a very low cost options, but there are a list of criteria where we can or cannot put them. It's approved by council back in I think 2 years ago. The way how we implement the baller. So we want to make sure that the baller is visible to driver, just to make sure that they're able to see it before they navigate.
So I just want to respond to a couple of notes next to that, because I think it's very important. He touched on some very important issues. So the speed, he's absolutely right. We didn't meet the numerical thresholds required by the speed study. I've acknowledged that. That's absolutely correct. I had an issue with the placement of the wires for the speed study. I thought that they were put in locations where the drivers wouldn't be able to hit those speeds.
But that's speed, but then we also have volume.
Yeah, but
So
the
it's two
speed
criteria.
is the issue, right? I know it's a combined threshold that they're having. So absolutely acknowledged, we didn't meet those. You should still vote in favor of implementing traffic control measures here. There's overwhelming support by all the residents that we can't miss. And so where there's strong community support, clearly there's a problem that needs to be addressed. It's not just the numbers don't paint the full picture. The foliage issue has been an issue since I moved there, 2018. That has never been addressed. And I think it's been brought before town council for many, many times by our neighbors. Maybe you can cite that.
I don't remember that.
My understanding is that it's been brought before. The resident that lives there is absolutely adamant that the trees not be cut down.
No, but it's on the town's right, so that therefore the town can say what happens. In fact, usually, my experience, usually we ask people to cut it back. I mean, it happens all the time, they get but for visibility issues, and of course.
It's a really big issue.
Oh, did you have something?
I was just gonna say, Michael brought up the one point you brought up is where if bollards to go where they're placed. So the placement of bollards are very important. You have to have clear visibility, you have to have distance. In your map, you have them on the bend, you have them at the top, which you have to do the studies to your distance instead of, I can look it up, but
They can't go in a bed.
they can't, you have to have, so where your bollards would be placed, and if that meets the criteria, do they meet what you're looking for? So there's two different things, right? Where the standard is and they would have to go, and will that meet or accomplish what you're looking for? Regardless, I think if they go in, they'll meet what you're looking for, but you're gonna have to do that placement stuff.
Well, you know what, we're kind of moving into our discussion issue. Thank you. Are there any other questions of the resident? Yes.
Hi, I'm David Blount.
Hi.
Really great delegation, thank you. And I'm a big fan of flex bollards. They're in my neighborhood. But I am curious about, you made a big point about cut through traffic. And I really can't understand how they'd be cut through traffic on the street. Just the way it's designed and how it connects to surrounding streets. Is that a perception that residents see people driving through the street that don't live on the street and they think that people are infiltrating for some reason? Which may be.
A lot of it, we recognize a lot of the vehicles on the street, like as I mentioned, there's only 60 personal houses, we recognize vehicles. So the ones that are cutting through are ones that we don't recognize. They're package delivery services. We see them, if I'm trailing them, if I'm following them off St. John's, they turn into Gateway and they Limeridge and cut all the way across. A lot of it is assumption based. I'm not trailing these people all the way home. I don't know what they're doing, but this is how we perceive that the street is being used. To bypass traffic that accumulates during rush hour on St. John's to get to meeting and to kind of, forget about Gateway. Gateway is, it's a long way around. This is the shorter way around.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes. Hi, I'm Bill.
Hi.
Good to meet both of you. I know in the past, because I've been on this committee for quite a while, Ward 1, there's also been very big issues, very, very similar. And especially with infiltrators as well as people cutting through and so on. Unfortunately, York Region would not deal with that because it's traffic coming off of Bathurst. And nothing was done with the vegetation, nothing was done with sidewalks, there was no traffic coming. The thing that probably helped the most, and I'm just wondering if you have contacted the police about something like neighborhood watch, coupled with the road watch. Have you considered that at all? Because that actually did help. Because the signs, it was approved by the town that the signs could be put up on the lampposts throughout the neighborhood, at the entrances, especially to the neighborhood. And what happened was that out of, let's say, 200 houses, so there were signatures representing maybe 220 residents. So what the residents did is they all were connected by on Signal, which is more secure. So everyone switched from WhatsApp to Signal, and then they would message each other. Did you see that car? Not everyone has cameras, so they would say, if you saw a car, could you find out this date, this time? And so people were able to report or keep tabs on what was happening in the neighborhood, and the thefts went down as well, actually.
That's interesting. So similarly, we had, our first recourse was to engage the town and to, we were told the process was to get the petition signed, then the speed study, then proceed to council, and then now we're here at the transportation. So we went that avenue. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Morning, John. I think we'll excuse you from the table.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You are free to return to your seat. Or just leave, basically. But thank you so much. So now it comes to the committee for discussion. As Irina said, this is ours to think about. The road watch, the neighborhood watch, they're great ideas. They would have to follow through with that if they want. But what are we as a committee thinking about this? We're only discussing Limeridge, we also have to. But why don't we just finish Limeridge? Does anybody have anything they want to put into motion? Could you tell us where the bollards would go?
We actually did some assessments, and shopping mall will be, it's not really feasible based on the guidelines that we have, that council approved to implement smaller.
Could any bollards?
Any ball. Because we have to look at, so we have to keep 8-meter distance from the bend. So the top part of Limeridge is already a no-go. And then we need a 10-meter setback from any residential driver. So the east part of Limeridge, there's really no such location that has a 10-meter setback. The west side, I think it's a similar story, that there's just not enough driving spacing to provide that. And then we also need a 25-meter or 30-meter setback from the intersections itself. So in consideration of all the criteria that we have, there's really no feasible locations for chopper baller, which we have identified in our, report.
Right, the report, this was already done, the feasibility study for the bollards, this is.
It's on a report, yeah. So specific.
Have you seen is there a, hold on. Is it on our report?
Michael, sorry, since you're waiting. Did you recommend any other traffic calming?
So we can look at.
Like when you said that there's not feasible, so it is I looked up the spec, it's recommended 150-meter setback, which is gonna be an issue, that's what I figured.
Yes. Well, speak, so looking at, we do have one possible location for a speed cushion.
That's right.
So we have one set that's feasible, the speed cushion.
The cushion.
150 meters.
And it's on the east, west side
On
of
bollards.
Limeridge.
So.
There's
It's on our report. Yeah, yeah. I'm
But the way it's feasible, it's shorter.
So we have one feasible location, possible location for.
There's another, there's.
But the spans are right.
Where am I?
So Limeridge is the location.
Yes.
So we did the assessment for,
So this is a potential.
that's a potential location, if
And
council
that
decides to
might
proceed
help.
with any traffic calming measure.
Does everybody have, can everybody get to that in that meeting?
It's the last page.
Can we put it up on the screen?
Yes, we are going to.
Just the location.
Madam Chair, may I have a question?
May.
What are those distances, Michael, on the east side? When we get there we go. On the east side, the 46, what is that distance? Do you know? From one intersection to the curve at the north end?
I believe that was like 35.
Meters?
I can double check.
It's not a stretch.
So I know that.
Do we have any distance? Yeah, I think this is 30, 20.
So what's the 46 number? What is that?
46 is the speed. That's the
Oh,
speed.
that's-
That's the 80, that's percentile speed.
I
So
see.
we measured, that's where we undertook the speed study, those three locations where it says 47, 46, and 45, which are sort of endpoints in those respective street segments. So we felt that it was appropriate location to measure the speed study, where the speed would be likely highest.
That's the speed, 26 kilometers. Is that speed 26 kilometers an hour?
The 80 percentile, yes.
So the stretch from where the corner is to the other corner is literally 7 houses. So there, people are doing 46 kilometers an hour in a stretch of 7 houses, 7 driveways. So did you guys do that fast,
They're slowing down.
right? And then they're coming off a corner, speeding to 46 and coming back to another corner. And you're saying another potential cushion is not good where the 45 is?
Well, based on the location criteria, we don't have any space on the section, the east side of Limeridge to meet any criteria for the speed cushions or to the traffic calming. So we speak, so when we look at the driveway spacing, we have to look at both sides, right? So there are a lot of sections with one side that have a clear section that you can implement, but then the opposing side is driveway. So we have to keep the speed cushion away from the driveway, and we also need to keep the traffic bubble away from the driveway.
So is there another option other than a speed cushion, like an actual speed bump? That goes from curb to curb right across the road, like you get in a parking lot or grocery store?
Sorry, this is very unusual that I'm allowing this conversation like this, but we don't put speed bumps.
Yeah.
I mean, we might put it on major road, but we don't do it at all on speed cushions. Yeah, we only do the speed cushions in the residential areas. But I know what you mean, you can. But that would be a whole other issue. This is policy, this is the town's policy. But it might help because it's coming, if somebody's cutting along Gateway, they're hitting that speed cushion pretty soon.
I do have a question about, I know in Newmarket, the older section, which is south of Davis, those residential streets, they have, and I don't know what you call them, but they have these, in the winter they remove them, but the part that narrows, so that they have to slow down to go through the narrowed posts or,
So very similar to the flexible signs that we have. So similar, similar criteria that would apply.
Oh, because they come, yeah. Where would you, they would end up on somebody's driveway.
And we need to keep that minimum distance setback from residential driveway. So that's 10 meters is what we need to work with. And with the driveway being spaced so closely on Limeridge, it's just very challenging to have that location. Towards flexible sign. So we did look at it. We looked at it very closely as well. Did a very
Thank you, I appreciate the work that you've done on this, it's.
What about like, I mean, I still think it might be a short stretch, but I think doing the road watch would be a good one, neighborhood watch would be a good one. What about a speed, like on the mounted on the posts indicator on the east side, so people are aware of their speeds, I mean, all those things might help.
Yes, and appreciate that, it's, be another discussion, but it's not something that, I mean, thank you for bringing it up, it's not something that we've ever. I just have to tell you, there was the Traffic Safety Advisory Committee was disbanded years ago, because it's a hard.
Yeah.
So, Sandra Humphreys and I fought for a long time. I started a fight and we finally got this committee. So it's tricky, because sometimes we think there are solutions and there aren't. Sure, you're very experienced, why don't you add your 2 cents?
Michael, just a few questions, and I understand the guidelines, the criteria you have for your traffic calming policy. Every municipality has that for good reason, including the setback requirements. As well as the guidance that's related to positioning of speed cushions, which also makes a lot of sense. But some municipalities actually, in response to, and I'm not sure if we're versed on this, but in response to local residents' concerns, have actually put in temporary speed cushions. You can buy them off the market, Anya's do them, which we don't have them. And it takes a couple hours, they plop them in, and they take them out at the end of the season. And it solves a bit of a problem in terms of the concern about trying to discourage traffic that for whatever reason is cutting through. Doesn't cause a problem for the winter and snow clearing. I'm just curious, has Aurora ever done that?
we don't have any temporary speed cushion program, but I would say that the temporary speed cushion will follow the same procedures and location guidelines with what we have right now, under the traffic calming policy.
It's just the way the driveways are spaced,
No, I get it.
as you, yes.
It is a very challenging street. I mean, I'm a big fan of the flex forwards. They're having a lot of challenge understanding how there's a lot of cut through traffic or speeding traffic on this road, given the nature of it. But also, if I lived on this road, be sensitive to those tight turns and the blind spots that are created. And if I had children, I would also be concerned. Doesn't matter whether you're going 40 kilometers an hour or 25 kilometers an hour, the car can't see someone, that's a big issue.
Right.
So clearly, there's our concerns if you live in this street. So have staff, Michael, have you, besides the speed cushion option, is there any other suggestion that staff might offer the committee in terms of the solution to address the residents' concerns?
There's some pretty good suggestions already.
Yeah,
Overwatch,
the neighborhood watch,
yeah, the neighborhood watch. Possibly future style installations that will protect the pedestrians.
You don't have any temporary speed signs that you install on local residential streets, all right?
The speed board.
Yeah.
So we don't have it right now, but we did request through council budget to include.
We don't have a speed sign?
We do, but most of it is already past the age. So we are getting new ones.
Two trailer units,
We don't do trail. We,
don't fixed.
yeah, so it's gonna be pole mounted.
What about lowering the street to 30?
If council approve, we look into that.
That's just a
Okay,
thought.
so
It's another way we can, yeah, we don't meet the requirements, then reduce the speed.
it's just even lower.
And I don't know whether people will pay attention to it.
Yeah, but then you go into the enforcement side.
Yeah, just,
So
it's
you-
sort of a
You do a multi-layered approach, usually when you have to do something that's outside the box, it's usually multi-layered, one thing doesn't fix all. So when we're designing something, you start into layering it, right, so.
My understanding right now is that for lowering speed limit, so we don't have any policy to lower speed limit to 30. And majority of the area where we see speed limit reduction is school zone. So this is it's not really a school zone. So I'm not too sure if lowering speed limit will be that effective.
So the fact that policies prevent other solutions, I mean, would there not be flexibility for saying maybe this is one street that needs that kind of reduction? You know, maybe, I'm just,
I mean, a lot of municipalities pilot ideas like this. The cost to implement or reduce post speed limit only would require council approval, right? To change that for that 250 road. And it could come with a recommendation that staff, down on this as a, just to see whether or not reducing post speed on a road like this would have any effect. Because once you do it on this street, it'll be other streets where we're
Well, that's-
looking at, right?
Yes,
So-
this will be pressed.
And there's no point accepting that as precedent if we find that it's not really effective. So,
The other thing you can look at just from narrowing the street. So the other way to do it is to narrow the street. So you narrow the street and you move the center of the white lanes in. You paint, so you can do temporary marking or permanent. You can narrow the street, which gives them they have to more controlled speed to go through because they don't have the width to make the turn if you're staying within the lines.
They already have on-street parking permit on one side.
That's usually I was gonna ask like that.
So
So
if we were to narrow down the street further, the street's only 8.5 meters.
that's what I don't look at.
So that's pretty, I think that's the minimum standard that we have for under guidelines. So if we were to lower it even further, I'm not too sure if we're gonna have any impact in terms of emergency service. Fire truck going by, especially in the winter time, there's snow back on one side.
That's right.
Yeah,
What about on the north side? Just at the top, not doing.
So we did explore those locations, but because of the close proximity to the bands.
No, to narrow the road. I see you not recommending speed reduction.
I think it would be very similar. I think on-street parking is also permitted on that side, on one side of that section. So if we were to narrow the road, would cause the issue in terms of, I think that's through.
I might have, collision. Steve, I think you had another.
Yeah, I had a question for David. The normally narrowing of the road, either physically or visually, creates a slowdown for the drivers. But the trees are there. I mean, who's responsible for the trees that are right up? Who's got pictures of the trees right up to the edge of the curb? Is the town responsible for those trees?
If there are, they could be, these ones that need trimming are on,
Yeah, if they're
right
within,
away.
if they are within town right of way.
So what is the right of way, Mike?
I'm sorry,
What's the right of way from the curb for the town?
what's the right of way?
Yeah.
Where
does the
what's the setback?
Distance?
A lot of those trees are in the town.
So,
Yeah.
so,
But usually
people, so
How do we value those trees too?
I know, I would never, I'd be the last one to cut a tree down.
there's a property standard to how high
Permit?
the vegetation can be.
No, but the point is you cut the trees down, then you're widening things out. And I mean, there's a safety thing, but then there's also the narrowing of the visual space. David could speak to this better than I can, that people actually should, in theory, I'm putting quotation marks around that, slow the drivers down.
I mean, that one corner that the delegate raised about the shrubbery is horrific. It's just
Yeah, and that would be easy to trim because
unbelievable.
it could be, and I don't know why Anyway, has got our attention now. Gary, does that come to you? Or not?
I would probably go through back to our arborist Ian Bryant. So,
Okay.
I mean, we do have a policy of raising trees where there are visual impacts.
Yes.
So we don't remove trees, we
No.
simply raise the lower branches to
Yeah.
make sure there's visibility. So that just needs to be scheduled.
Yeah, that's,
To our
that's
arborist.
gonna be, are you following us? Yep. That would be an easy, I mean, can we do it in the winter?
They would typically do it in the winter, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
With regards to shrubbery that's encroaching, that's more of a bylaw issue, so we can't just go and remove it. I think that would have to be a bylaw issue.
Okay.
But if it's in the municipal right of way,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which this clearly is.
I would still start with bylaw. Can I just add to that? We've, in 2 decades, we've complained multiple times about that corner. Bylaws come out there and they said it's within, not within, they've cut back a little bit. And within a week and a half, it's all grown back again.
Okay, we're gonna take care of that.
So I complained to the mayor, complained to our council, all the councils at one time, so there's been complaints, several complaints.
Well, they would pass it on, hopefully they would pass it, anyway, we're gonna take care of it. It's very valid. Okay, I just was asking Gary if he happens to be here for delegation. So do we have recommendations, council? Do we want to do that potential speed cushion location? Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to ask council to consider reducing the speed?
Yes, so I would put a multi-layered in, and then what comes at council, at least there's options, so at least something happens.
And I think
Whether it's the speed, whether it's the cushions, bollards, I don't think will work just because of the proximity, so those are your 2 options. And then looking at some maintenance on the road for better visual.
I think we're suggesting that steep pilot, so it doesn't require change.
There you go.
Policy, right? And that'd be
Remember
applied,
that.
it'd be applied to this
Okay,
road, right?
you,
It's that
We still require final.
It would still require, and then by council to implement a pilot, but it wouldn't change your policy. I think.
no, that's good, that's a very good
It would
idea,
be
thank you.
applicable to the street, but it would require you guys to go back and take a look after, see if it has any effect.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I suspect it may have little effect, but, it's difficult to know, let's try it.
Okay, so the motion is? Do you have the motion?
Yeah, I'll
You have a
make
motion?
I'll make a motion to add the speed cushions.
Yes. Yes, they took away our ability to make motions.
We just give recommendation.
Okay, well then to
We can make a recommendation
Yes.
that staff recommend to council.
Oh,
That the committee. Well, no, we recommend you, but you have to, okay, it'll be on our list.
You have to pass.
It'll be on our list.
Committee has recommended
yes.
Yes, but I'll bring it up on the
that a
minutes.
pilot project.
Yeah.
Be considered for this particular street. Reducing the speed limit to 30 kilometers an hour.
So, right,
And
that's
that-
one prong.
And that would include a follow-up by staff after whatever period of time staff think appropriate to assess whether or not there's been any measurable change
Thank you.
to the speed of traffic on this particular road. So
Thank you. Speed cushion.
the second one is a recommendation that the town investigate that particular corner and the what do we want to call this?
It's not a.
Invasive shrubbery.
Invasive shrubbery.
As noted, that's,
Invasive shrubbery.
oh, that, the shrubbery,
Yeah, right. To see if it's
that it be,
it's consistent with municipal bylaw, and if not, that it be addressed.
in any case, it be addressed.
Yeah, it is a
It
significant.
is a hazard.
It's a sightline issue,
It's a sightline
no
issue.
question about it.
The shrubbery, cut back, as it's a sightline issue.
It's on the corner of an intersection. I will too, which sightlines are super important.
Yes.
You know, I absolutely understand residents' concern about their particular property.
My understanding our enforcement teams are on, they're already aware of that particular corner.
We're just gonna nudge them.
Well, no, I mean, it's a safety issue. It needs to.
That's our perception, yeah. So
I shall.
we can just reinforce and enforce the importance of addressing the issue.
Yes, I shall give that to John Down. He's not able to come tonight. He's a counselor in the area. And the third one would be the speed cushion.
There was one location only, right?
Yes. The speed cushion. And then I don't think we can add the thing about the neighborhood watch and et cetera, but the
The
rest.
speed cushion, just for, it can only go on the east side.
West,
West side.
The west side.
west side, it's the blue.
The interesting thing about the speed cushion recommendation is it change your analysis of reducing the speed limit on the road. Is it supposed to side or is it speed cushion that's causing traffic maybe to go slower?
Oh, so we
I feel
do
like
one
it's-
first.
I'm wondering if it's one over the other.
Yeah, maybe do the signage first and then that'd be the easiest.
So question, Michael, if council doesn't concur with the recommendation to reduce the speed limit, or staff decide that, you know, that's whatever the decision is made, is the speed cushion at that one location still within policy?
That's generally within our acceptable guidelines. So that is why we show that location.
Okay, so that could be.
We also explore the locations.
Yeah.
That's one of the locations, that is the only locations that can possibly be.
And if we within current policy. Okay, so I think we're recommending our first choice, which is reducing the speed limit to 30. But if for whatever reason that's not approved, then our second option would be to install that speed cushion.
And if we do reduce the speed to 30, how long would we wait? How long would we wait
If staff need to make that decision,
Okay.
they do these types of studies.
for the pilot project for a certain duration?
We'll take a look to explore if that is a feasible option for us. And if it is, then we'll explore in terms of like the directions, the implementation phase. And how
Okay,
we're
You know, how many typically at least 2 years,
how long?
usually 2 years. If you're gonna do something like this, to collect information. Reducing the speed limit, 1 year would be not necessarily long enough. So if they're gonna go to the trouble of having council approve a change and pilot this and put signs up, you have to create the signs, you have to install the signs. You're not just gonna put them out there every summer, you're gonna run for a period of time.
No, I don't bow, but I bow to your expertise, but you know, it's. People
But
want to
staff
see
will make the
something.
decision when they think it's the right time.
Okay,
I do agree because it might take some time to for traffic to
Yeah.
normalize. So people initially might see 30 km/h might reduce, then over time they might gain the speed limit.
But it might need the police to do a little bit of enforcement initially after it's rolled out.
how much is a speed board? I mean, I was gonna bring that forward, we actually have a speed board, I mean, at least one.
I can rent some too.
Probably being wiser to buy it, so
I
the
felt
speed
so.
boards that I see are regional then, if we don't.
No, just one on Gateway.
Yeah,
There is one on Gateway, yeah.
for northbound.
There's a speed board on Gateway,
That's not the interest.
is there a speed board on Gateway? I've just been
I
told there is.
think there is, but I'm not too sure if they're actually functional or if
It's working.
or if the speed is still accurate at this stage. Again, most of the board that we have now is already past their.
Their useful lifespan, is that right?
Mm.
Okay, you'll look into it.
So we're not getting new ones this year.
We are,
We are getting new ones.
Okay.
It is in the budget, so.
Okay,
We're gonna put budget to get new ones.
perfect. And maybe we could put one. Try and put one. One item up. Okay, Okay, we have a mover of the motion, a seconder of the motion. All those in favor? Thank you. I haven't even touched the agreement. Let us table the rest of this and do our, just explain. Whatever you are, Gary, which is the 7.1. Gary is the senior landscaper, a landscape architect. John Aurora. We have to vote to table.
Okay, but we also should, if they want to stay or go, because we're moving on to something else, that's all, just to let them know. We're gonna move on to other topics, so.
So how do we leave it? We're gonna.
So we put the recommendation into the town to go through that pilot. So that has to go back to them, then it gets readdressed back at council. That's all we can do is send the recommendations.
To speak to it again, or?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
No, when, just make sure they notify when they're gonna read it back to council, so you're there. That's what I would recommend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry we took so much.
No, no, it's important issues. Yeah, it's important. You're engaged, that's.
Have a good day. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Better on. Thank you so much. Yeah, questions. I'm getting this recognition from the bench, so it's really good.
Okay.
Can I just ask one final question, Michael, can you make that report that you did?
The report is,
Where is it?
so it's part of the agenda.
Oh, really?
I couldn't find it in the agenda items. I couldn't find it.
I think I have a pen.
I downloaded it off our website.
On the website?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I didn't see any test agenda. Was that graphic of the street, Michael, that was in the report?
Yeah, everything's in the report, yes.
Yeah, I couldn't find the report, it's not in the agenda items. That report you brought up,
Yeah.
I can't get to it through the agenda.
Oh.
Where?
Yeah.
How did you have this?
Like these, right?
So top.
Scary. What?
Okay, Oh, my report's at the end, so it's after Gary's report.
Oh, it's after Gary's report. Okay, it's after Gary's report.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, that's still Gary's. There it is. Okay, it's page 29.
Yeah.
You got it? Well, then that's what.
Okay.
Okay, what do I have to do here, Madam Clerk? Do I have to, oh, you're the clerk. Patricia's also our lawyer. She's wearing 3 hats at the moment. So, no, but you would know, so if. I would like to table 7.2 for the moment. And go to 7.1.
I don't actually assist.
We discussed.
You discussed it.
We discussed the Limeridge part.
But there's another street that was part of the
I'm gonna let, I'm just going to say, is it okay, and you can figure it out properly now. Is it okay if I wanted to bring that forward because the residents. I'd like to go back to 7.1 and do the trails report from Gary. Is Anybody opposed to that? Okay, so do we need a vote on it? Okay, so vote to table 7.2 and go to 7.1, report on trails. Could I have a Heidi? Thank you. Good to have you on the record, thanks. Steve, all those in favor? Okay, thank you. Now, memorandum from Gary Gardana, Senior Landscape Architect. May I have a mover and a seconder to put the item on the floor for discussion? Thank you, this side of the table, I'll get you next time. Yeah. Okay. Gary. And Matthew, wherever you are.
There we go, first page. Good evening, Councillor Gardner and committee members. I'm Gary Gardana, Senior Landscape Architect at the town of Aurora. I get involved in the planning, design, construction of parks, trails, sports fields, any outdoor recreational facilities I usually get my hands involved in. And I was asked to give a bit of an update for the trails system in Aurora. So what I'd like to do is start with where we formally started, and that's with the Trails Master Plan, and just a little bit of history before we get to the actual Trails Master Plan. Before the Trails Master Plan, prior to 2011, we didn't really have a town-wide comprehensive policy on trails. We had secondary plans, we had official plans that for specific areas that related to requests for or desires for trails, but we didn't have a town-wide policy. And back in 2000, 2005, that area, the northwest quadrant of Aurora, the east of Bayview and north of Wellington was being developed. And at the time, the Leisure Services Advisory Committee was concerned about getting a trail system into that area. And they needed a policy or format in which to do that. So they solicited council, and council actually created a subcommittee of the Leisure Services Advisory Committee, and that was a trails committee that was struck up, and that was in 2007. So that committee started to do some background work in 2010. They received some funding through the Ministry of Health, and that funding allowed the town to retain Marshall McNamara and Dave McLaughlin here to do a comprehensive trails master plan. So that's what that's what the result is. The 2011 trails master plan for the town of Aurora. And the general vision was to develop a connected off-road multi-purpose barrier free trail, accessible and pedestrian oriented, and then many sub-objectives and goals, but basically to provide trail connections, improve connections, provide new trails, and to link residential areas, schools, established neighborhoods, parks and green space, and also to provide active, healthy lifestyles for our residents. Next slide, please. So the 2011 master plan inventoried and documented our existing trail system, and which consisted basically of off-road trails in our parks and forests, trails throughout park systems, the Oak Moraine Trail, which was a combination of on-street sidewalks, off-road trails, and designated routes, and then multi-use path on regional boulevards. And the reason why I bring up the Oak Moraine Trail designated route is that the Oak Moraine Trail has a designated route through town, but not all of it is a maintained trail. So part of the eastern section that goes along Vandorf was actually identified simply as a route. It wasn't actually maintained by the town, and I think that section of trail contributed to the overall kilometer of trail in town, and that may have skewed the overall kilometers of trail in town. So I just wanted to bring that up, and I'll speak to that a little bit more later. So next slide, please. So the master plan created a number of maps, and this is one of the main maps, the facility network, facility type network. And as you look at the map, you can see the solid lines are the existing trail systems back in 2011. And that basically was the Holland River Valley Trail System, Shepherd's Bush, the trails in the northwest quadrant, St. Andrews Hills, along with a few trails in some of the park areas. And then the rest of the trails, which are the dotted lines, are the trails that were actually proposed by the committee. And as you look at it, it's town-wide, very comprehensive, and most of the trails, well, pretty much all the proposed trails are on, at the time, were on land that was not owned by the town, lands that were subject to short-term development and long-term development. So the actual vision for this trail system was a 50-year vision. It wasn't just an immediate vision. Next slide, please. So at the time, our trail system consisted of, it was primarily designated for development lands. And when we started the process of actual trail development, we did that through three methods. One was we went to the developer in new development areas and communicated the requirement for trails. And so that trail system would be realized through the development of the subdivision, through subdivision agreements. We also took on the process ourselves by retaining a consultant, and the consultant would draft up a set of plans and then hire a contractor to construct the trails. And then the third method was we would take on sections of trail by town staff and do the trail system in-house. Next slide, please. So I'm just going through some of the main areas of growth in our trail system, and I'll start with the David Tomlinson Nature Reserve. So this started actually with the concept of the wildlife park, which is now the David Tomlinson Nature Reserve. And there was a lot of background work, but basically we had to wait until about 2015 before lands were acquired, lands were conveyed by the development community to the town. So 2015, we started the detailed design, and then we started to build the trails, and the trails were constructed through the subdivision agreement by developers where we could. The bulk of the trails were designed and constructed through the actual wildlife park and conceptual plan and implementation strategy. So, and then that basically allowed us to start building trails in 2018, and we built the last trail in that area last year, well, 2 years ago, 2024, to complete that trail system. A little bit of a hiccup, part of that property was owned by Ducks Unlimited Canada, so that required some arrangements with Ducks Unlimited in terms of getting an easement, getting an agreement with them to actually use their lands to facilitate the trail system. Next slide, please. Another significant area of trail progress was the Highland Gate development, and that again, there was a conceptual master plan that was done for the Highland Gate property that was approved by council back in 2017, and that sort of steered the direction of the trail system through the various phases of the subdivision agreement. So that entire trail system is being built by the developer, by Draining Homes. What you see here is a system that is built to date through phases 1, 2A, and 2B. And then the trail system, the red dashed line that continues eastward, continues through phases 3 and 4 over to phase 5 and 6, closer to Yonge Street. And the intent was to get a loop trail system that would go through this neighborhood and connect to the Yonge Street corridor. And that comprises about 3 kilometers, 3.5 kilometers of trail. Next slide, please. So in addition to the developer built trails, we did a few of our own trail projects constructed entirely by town staff. The Woodhaven Trail System we completed just a year and a half ago. That's about a 1.5 kilometer length of trail. Some of that was through the forest where there were existing farm tracks, and so we followed those tracks and built a trail based on where those tracks were. But we also wanted to get a loop system in there, and then we also built the Glen Steeple Trail system through the open space that we acquired. And at some point, we would like to connect these two trail systems. There's been some discussion about redevelopment on Ridge Road. I think right now there's nothing serious that has come through planning, but when it does, we will be looking to join these two trail systems to basically get us from Elderberry Trail up north through Woodhaven and up closer to Yonge Street and Industrial Parkway. And so that trail system at the southeast would connect to Yonge and Elderberry, and at the north, it would go north of Woodhaven through the town's property to connect to the pet cemetery, and then further north and east to Yonge Street. Next slide, please. Another small trail system that we were able to build ourselves was the connection from the corner of St. John Road, and that section closer to Yonge Street is on St. Andrew's property, and that required some significant time to go through the legal process to arrange for the easements and the design for the trail system to get the trail system, and that's also mostly within the Pecuniary Creek floodplain, which is what necessitated the boardwalk system through that area. Next slide. There were a number of little isolated developments. The Straw Bridge is one of them at Stone Road and Bayview, and wherever we have a subdivision, we look for opportunities to connect to the broader trail system. So in this situation, the developer constructed this trail at our request to connect Straw Bridge to the Shepherd's Bush Trail system, the Klaus Wurmberg and Tim Jones Trail. And we will be looking to connect this trail system as well to Archer Hill subdivision once Archer Hill is built out. Next slide, please. So in addition to these trails in open spaces that we acquired, we've also been building trails in our parks, in our new parks. And one of the objectives in our new parks is to, as much as possible, create a loop trail system within the parks, and that's what we've done in Trent, Edward Fulton, Thomas Coates, Stuart Burnett, and John Abel and Hallmark. So within those parks, in those new parks, we've got another 2.5 kilometers of trails within the trail system. Next slide, please. The multi-use trails, the multi-use paths on regional roads, that's not something that I get too involved in other than just reviewing the trails when they're proposed, and engineering has more of a role in this. These are multi-use paths that are constructed by the region of New York when the regional roads are under redevelopment or reconstruction or expansion. And just wanted to bring your attention to the proposed section of multi-use path from Bloomington to Industrial Parkway. That one is it's currently being designed and it's scheduled for construction this year, correct? 2026, if council approves it? Yeah, okay. So and that will facilitate some connections to our trail system in behind in Woodhaven and Glen Steeple as well. So next slide, please. So overall, since 2012, we've built off-road, we've built we've built just over 15 kilometers of trail. In our open space and forest areas, we've built just under 2.5 kilometers in new parks. And the multi-use path on regional roads, since 2012, we've built almost 7 kilometers. So that gives us a net total of 66 kilometers of trail in the town. So
Yay.
that does not include the Oak Ridges Moraine sidewalk and designated routes. That's just the physical trails on the ground.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. So from here, we've got a couple of projects on the books. One of them is the trail system within the Anatomy lands north of St. John's. It's basically two areas. The west area is in behind the Graff Crescent. That would connect Thorn Family Park to St. John's Side and Brodie. This one was going to go a year ago, but we were kind of impacted by beavers. So there's a lot of beaver activity there. We had to change the design, change the trail route, and that delayed our progress a bit. So that portion of the trail has been designed. It's with procurement. We hope to have that constructed this year. The section of trail closer to Leslie Street in the Forest Grove area, that is currently being designed, and hopefully by middle of summer we'll have a contract ready, and that will start late this fall, hopefully late this fall, if not earlier in 2027. So these are trails that we have retained a consultant to do the design work, because there's boardwalks, there's bridge crossings, creeks, and et cetera, et cetera. So that's a little bit above and beyond our ability to build ourselves. So the section at Forest Grove, there is a proposal to bring us under the bridge under St. John's and connect to Chouinard Way. That connection may be delayed a little bit, because that's going to require regional input, regional approval, and there's some tricky designs to get over the creek and under the bridge with the trail. So that connection may be delayed pending design approval, and that may increase costs of this trail system, and that would require budget approval as well. So, and just to mention the trail at Bayview. You had mentioned the extension west of Bayview. That will require, there has been a route suggested west of Bayview, which is kind of moves in and out of in between Aurora and Newmarket. And I think it would require both the approval of Newmarket and the golf course, because that land is not our own. We can certainly devise a trail route on our portion of the land, but we will have to extend into Newmarket to make those connections viable. So that's a little bit more longer term, and has to be negotiated with Newmarket and with St. Andrews. Next slide, please.
So who would then maintain it? It's like something.
Well, that would be an agreement. Well, there's a couple scenarios. You could think long term, and that St. Andrews Golf Course may not be there forever. It may redevelop. In which case, when it redevelops, you would look at acquiring the route. If there is a desired route that doesn't impact the golf course, then it would be a matter of going to the golf course and saying, hey, can we get an easement? It would be a matter of going to Newmarket and saying, can we facilitate this on your land? And it would probably be a tri-party agreement in that regard. That takes a lot of stick landing to get something done in that fashion. So just because of that, there's 3 different landowners in that area. So the other trail system that's on our books right now is north of St. John's, west of Yonge Street, and that's the Shining Hill development. We acquired a significant chunk of forest land there, and based on the original trail master plan, we would like to get a trail system all the way from almost to Bathurst out to Yonge Street, and so that forest section would be the first part of the trail system that we would build. Right now, we're just this spring we will be in the process of acquiring a consultant to do the design work for that. So far, we only have budget to do the design. We would need budget approval, council approval to actually build the trail once we've got the design done.
Sorry, and that would be shared with Newmarket, right?
That portion is entirely on town land, on town of Aurora land. But there would be connections north into Newmarket, and if we wanted to make the connection to Thelma Fielding Park, we would need to extend up into Newmarket and come back down. So those discussions with Newmarket will have to happen within the next year, couple of years, in order to see how we can facilitate that trail system. And then also in the long term, there would be, once Shining Hill develops closer to Yonge and St. John's, we would be able to get that connection right to the corner of Yonge and St. John's. So that would mean a trail system from pretty much all the way from Bathurst to St. John's and Yonge, and then that would connect into the trail south of St. John's and into the St. Andrews Hills and connect over to the Makita Trail north into Newmarket. So that's kind of a key junction right there.
Sorry for so many questions. What about St. Anne's then? Does it cross through St. Anne's as well?
The trail section, St. Anne's is located right beside Thelma Fielding Park. So the trail will go just south of their lands and they will have access to connect to it if so desired.
This question about the last slide where, you know, the graph comes bad news. Sorry, the last slide, actually. Slide number 13.
Yeah, the Miami Trails?
Yeah, so, it's just south of the graph there. Will that ever, I guess, well, there's lights further west. I guess it's not gonna connect with the trails into the nature park.
So the trail behind the graph will actually extend to Brody Drive and St. John Side Road. The trail system in the David Tomlinson Nature Reserve comes right up to St. John's about, I would say 100 meters, 150 meters east of Brody Drive.
Yeah, so you just.
So the intent would be to bring the trail along St. John's and then cross at Brody. I don't know, Michael, if there was some discussion a while ago, a year or two ago, with regards to a signalized intersection at Brody, and that would be subject to York Region's approval. There was just some preliminary discussions. I don't think it went anywhere, but if there's a need for crossing, ideally that would be through a signalized intersection.
Okay.
They have one at Mountain.
Yeah, there's a lot.
They subsequently put one in Mavernack, so that might,
So I don't know.
yeah, so they probably wouldn't, but
Fair enough. One other question, McLeod Wood Nature Reserve, will there ever be trails in there?
if they have their way.
Okay, that's
Who's
not,
they?
Oak Ridge Marine Land Trust. We've approached them. They do not want the public in their
okay,
woodlot.
it's beautiful.
Basically.
There's rough trails that go through there. I mean, people have made their own kind of trails.
Us dog walkers.
Okay,
There is a proposal to go from Brookfield Parkette east to Leslie, and that's just south of the McLeod Woodlot. But that's the only trail that we would build in that area.
okay.
There was some intent, I think, way back when, to get a trail system through McLeod Woodlot to connect to the trail at Edward Colton Park, and that would be ideal. But like I said, the Oak Ridge Marine Land Trust has said no to that. So.
Well, fair enough, thank you.
When you said the beaver says there used to be an absolutely massive beaver dam just south of the graph. Is it still there?
It's been there, it's been demolished, it's been reinstated, it's been demolished, it's been reinstated, and I don't
Beavers
know.
doing their thing.
Yeah. Beavers doing their thing. So. There's actually a couple of dams, one right north of St. John's at the Stormwater Pond. There's one right at the culvert under Bayview, and then there's one or two west of Bayview.
They took down a tree on that one, on the other side of Bayview, on our side of Bayview, that was this big around.
Oh, the beavers did
It was this big around. It was, I've never seen a tree taken down by a beaver that big. It was something to see. Very industrial.
Next slide, please. Next slide. So, longer term, we are looking at trails east of Leslie, and that would be the Addison Hall trail system. There is a proposal for a trail to go in kind of around the perimeter of Addison Hall, closer to 404 and connect up north once the property at Leslie and St. John's develops. And at the south end of it, that would also be a trail connection through the open space under the underpass on Leslie into the David Thomas Nature Reserve. So that would be a key connection that way. And then northeast of Leslie and St. John's, where there's currently development happening, we own the open space land just to the north of that. So we would, and there's another underpass under Leslie Street in that area. So we would make the connection to the Mattamy trails under that underpass to the east of Leslie, and that would connect to that development there, Sakura Circle, that's kind of isolated at the very top end of the northeast corner of Aurora. And then the lands that Aurora purchased on Yonge Street that have the pet cemetery, we're looking at doing some trails in there as well. That will most likely be part of the redevelopment of that property into recreational amenities. So there is some desire right now to get a temporary trail to the pet cemetery for access, for maintenance, and for, I guess, for future pedestrian ability to get to the pet cemetery. So, but that's still under discussion. And then, not related to actually physically building trails, but we have a trail signage strategy that is ongoing. Our next major block of trail signs will be the David Tomlinson Nature Reserve trail signage, and that will not only be wayfinding signage, but that will also be interpretive signage related to the nature reserve. So that's about it for me. So, if you have any more questions? Yeah.
Yes, this might seem a little bit, it's twofold. One is for safety and the other one is cultural. So the one for safety is it possible to add solar lighting to the top to illuminate, like for safety, but also to illuminate the signage a little bit better? The second thing I wanted to ask was there, I know there isn't a lot of space and maybe the signs are kind of generic, but is there any way to put I mean, this is Williams Treaty land, right? So to put some like a feather or just something cultural, heritage related, even if it's small, I think it's the least we can do. We have no Indigenous names on our signs, and that's a real problem to me.
To answer your second part first, the Indigenous aspect, I think that needs to be done on signage, but in terms of what goes on that sign, I think that would need to go through policy and through our Indigenous committee and whatnot. So if that's a recommendation of this committee, then we can follow that through.
And also maybe in the newer trails, maybe we could have just actually have the Indigenous sign.
Well, it's something that I don't think is very difficult to add to a sign, but we need to know what to add. It needs to be.
We'd have to consult with the Chippewas.
Yeah, we have to do our consultation and make sure.
It's really good.
And your first point, issue of safety, I think we've bantered this back and forth in terms of do we light trails, do we not light trails? Our standard is not to light trails, although Highland Gate, that was a special consideration, a special ratepayers group that got involved in that discussion, and so we veered from our standards. I don't know, I think there's information back and forth, but I don't know if lighting the trail makes it any more safer in a natural area. So that would need to have some research done. That would need to be made into policy and be supported by our service levels. So,
especially around schools or closer to schools, especially where there's a lot of traffic, foot traffic with young people and with youth, maybe that would be helpful. Not everywhere in the town, but in select areas, maybe. Like St. Andrews, Shining Hills, there's gonna be daycare there.
Well, that's something I can take back to our parks manager. Matt's listening in, so.
Who's been very patiently listening in, folks, this is Matt. We've had discussions about beavers.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah.
So regarding Shining Hills, has there been any discussion? I get the trail system going through here in St. Anne's, but now we have this new signalized crossing of Young Street where Wellington is, and it just begs the question, why could there not be negotiated some type of connection to the trail system, or at least to the extension of the farm that would connect to your trail? Because then you would have, because this is a challenging piece to get your connection.
Yeah,
You already have a signalized intersection, you have a cross ride, but installed across Young Street to that trail system, like that's a pretty big connection.
I think that discussion will happen when Shining Hill develops that portion of their property. I think the corner property isn't owned by Shining Hill. I think it's still private. And that lowland is required, that property would be required to get us up to that intersection. The other thing that we have sort of discussed off and on is doing an underpass where the creek is to connect right into the Nokita Trail. And that's another thing that I think is on our agenda to discuss with Newmarket, just to start the discussion and say, is this feasible at all? What do we need to do? Where do we need to go with this?
I imagine those are expensive.
Yes.
Steve,
I've mucked around on foot and by bike up in that area, David, where you're talking about, and the developer, there's a combination of like roads the developer has done in there, and I think existing farm sort of pathways were organically up in that space. I don't know what they have planned for them, but it looks like there is some kind of passageway through there, David. But that would be up to the.
Us dog walkers walk through there already, just so you know.
Full disclosure, but it is private property. There used to be a rough trail that went from Bathurst all the way over to Young. Like I'm talking 20 years ago, and I was kicked out of there by the landowners multiple times on my bike or on foot. So those paths have existed organically through there, more or less where your trail.
So there is an existing footpath just west of St. Anne's School, and the route that I showed on that map goes on one of those trails, and it does a loop north and comes back down. But I haven't walked the section further west to see where it connects to Woodland Hills and that development.
I'm talking about if you go north on Bathurst and you're just going up and where the road starts to curve around and starts to go downhill, there's a gate, there used to be a gate there, a rough sort of chain link kind of gate. And if you went in there, and I did this 20 plus years ago, there's a almost a natural old farm trail that sort of wandered down through there. There was the landowner used to have a little airport in there too. People who owned that massive piece of property, they landed planes up in there, like little planes. So it was fascinating.
Gary, it's really exciting. Great presentation.
Yeah.
yes, thank you.
Staff are doing an awesome job.
And Matt, thank you for your work.
Yes, Matt. And this is a really interesting area too. So I think our committee would be interested in being kept up to date on, opportunities for extending that trail system should those properties be available. And if you're going to talk to Newmarket anyway about the other trail you're talking about, having a conversation with them and connecting to Bennington.
Yeah, there's a couple of these trails. The Mattamy Trails has the opportunity to extend into Newmarket as well. So and I've discussed this with Sarah, our director, a few times. I think once the Mattamy Trail system is evolved and once the Shining Hills Trail system gets designed, I think through that process we would then engage discussions with Newmarket and say, hey, where can we combine forces and join trail systems, et cetera, et cetera.
Thank you, Gary, for this, and everyone involved, Swearenberg, David Tomlinson, past councils. I don't think the people of Aurora truly appreciate, and David could speak to this, like what we have here. This might be one of Aurora's best assets. I don't,
Yeah.
there's not, if you look at all these maps around Aurora, no one is more than a 5-minute walk from any of these trails or a trailhead that they get into, that they could traverse some distance or significant distance by foot or by bike, completely off a road. I've traveled all over the place. This is a tremendous asset.
Thank you, and we are trying to promote tourism.
Yeah.
Here we go. And of course, the nature is very.
Well, the Arboretum is part of that.
Oh, right, but the David Thomas
And the problems
advisory,
on nature.
it took years to get
Fantastic.
that. Bill,
Yes, I'm wondering if Shining Hills, the developer, can foot some of the bill and give us a break here at Aurora.
you can answer that if you want.
Shining Hill has contributed to Thelma Fielding Park. But there is, some change in responsibilities, I don't know how to say it, within Shining Hill, and I don't think they're as giving their money away as freely as they might have in the past.
Well, I think it's a responsibility. I mean, they want to build what, a 10,000 resident tower, and they want to, there's going to be a daycare there. There's a lot that they can do to add to the environment.
Well, I mean,
They're right pushed up against the wall, which is
they have
great,
made
so-
contributions to the town. I'll just leave it at that.
You know, one comment I have to make is, you know, our community not far from us, Uxbridge, calls themselves the Trails Capital of Canada.
Yeah, I've heard that, yeah.
And I know a little bit about that plan too, but when you look at the density of trails, both existing and proposed, it's far more than actually.
Well, why don't we
quite
claim that title then?
Yeah.
I think we can market our trails just as well as they can, so.
It's their
We don't.
moniker.
Although we're known for our trails generally,
Yeah,
but, you know,
It's our secret.
so, well,
I mean, do have the rail trail there, but you can, and I do this regularly, you can go from Bayview and like Bloomington, more or less.
Yeah.
And you can ride all the way up to Holland Landing
That's fantastic.
on trails.
That's gonna go to six.
great, I know
I
that.
knew that, and you have to cross roads here and there. But that is a tremendous resource, and I don't think many people realize that. And we could do a better job
We
of
could do better.
of promoting it.
And
Use bike
does that join with the- does that connect with the Nokeeta Trail?
Yes.
That is, I know where it's headed. I would like to, probably vote on this, I would like to thank, so I was on that committee where we had the trails subcommittee, and David Thompson and Klaus Werenberg were instrumental, and I believe at that point our trails were north-south. There weren't any loops, so there weren't many, there weren't some. And all of the creeks, but we've come a long way. It's really amazing in such a short time,
I
20
remember,
years.
I remember those meetings, and I remember those two in particular. Very persuasive champions of trails for this community.
Well, and it's 20 years, it's an incredible accomplishment, so thank you, everybody who's involved, really, thank you. So, I'm gonna call the vote. The vote was to receive and refer to staff. All those in favor? Opposed? That carried. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Gary.
And everyone.
We still have the Michaels. Okay, did you have something to say? Go ahead, this. You should just say it.
Just in case you're gonna go to the next item, the previous item, a motion to table was not appropriate, unfortunately. So I just suggest we just call it a motion to pause.
Motion to pause.
the
Well,
discussion, unless you're, the tabling means that you're tabling it to another meeting for discussion.
well, maybe it is in order, it's up to you. So this is on Gateway, it's probably going to be a longish discussion.
Good night, everybody.
I don't know if there's urgency on this, but I'm at your pleasure whether you want to continue now or whether you want to, when is our next meeting? Oh, so it's a whole.
Limeridge, then going to this.
But that was on, that's what, so we have, that's,
Yes.
I'm at your pleasure, if you want to continue, I mean, personally, I think Gateway's pretty big discussion, we did have a lot of discussion at the last meeting. And there were suggestions in the minutes, some good suggestions. Let's see how I can pull, anyway, it's up to you, I don't know if you have anything to add, it's.
Could we ask a few questions of staff about Gateway or that?
Yeah. So now so the motion then was, should be to pause.
Yeah, there is no such thing, but I'm just suggesting.
Oh, our lawyer, call it up if you want, so,
And as long as the.
we can well, you know what, we could unpause it. And see what happens by 9 o'clock. We really don't want to keep anybody here after 9. That time maybe we may table that. Is that part of the 7.2 part for Limeridge has to go to the committee? Yeah, okay.
It's only one.
No, yeah. But the item is together, but the report is separate. Anyway, no,
The report is together, but then just under the advisory committee section, you can always say that the discussion for.
okay, goes to forward to the committee.
And if you do select you, it would be a different.
Okay, that's great. So I don't have the minutes handy. Does anybody have the minutes handy? Because there were suggestions that came from this. Claude?
My recollection from that meeting was that we talked about the bollards as a solution for Gateway. And
But I just want to, so just to reiterate, so flexible bollard or speed cushions, they are part of these Chopcom policies. So we follow similar, actually we follow the same rules, same warrants, criteria. So we could choose speed cushion or we could choose flexible sign, but they follow the same procedures under the Chopcom policy.
so the challenge with Gateway Protocol 2 was that the petition wasn't completed with.
Yeah, so I think there was two main concerns that Richmond had. The first one is it doesn't technically meet the warrant. So the speed that we collected is 48 km per hour, which is 8 over the closest speed limit, and policy calls for 15 at minimum. The second part is that with the extension of the study area, we don't have form petitions for that section. So
Right.
the section is from Person to City Drive. We don't have a petition for that section. So in order for us to proceed with the second one or the third one, we need to complete the first one, which is the warrants.
I have a question, can we do that trial with the 30 kilometers, can we do the trial at Gateway as well?
I wouldn't necessarily recommend on Gateway.
It was-
I don't
It's
know.
connected.
Yes, it was a different.
Yeah,
Limeridge is our own very low, very low traffic.
Us not having that petition for that last segment is sort of challenge was the solution for Gateway should encompass the entire section.
That's what we said last
Is that
meeting.
what we said?
Yeah, it was too small a area, we needed to look at the whole.
But then we also have a roundabout at Patterson, that's kind of,
Yeah.
it's also.
That's
huge.
yeah.
Sort of right in the middle of Gateway, so that is also another.
You have two
I was,
One, yes,
roundabouts.
just one.
It's just one?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I
Okay, for that.
Yeah, okay, it's gone off now.
I do have some input and it's more to staff, is that, and a recommendation is, I think the whole of Gateway needs to be looked at. If we don't have anything for the northern section, then we should look into that. Anecdotally, I can tell you from having campaigned in that neighborhood and knocked on every door. I ran in Ward 5, I lost, but I knocked on every door in and around there, and there were numerous complaints about driving quickly on the northern portion. So when the delegate came and talked about the southern portion, I was kind of confused about this. I was going, hey, this is great, but from my experience campaigning and going door to door in the neighborhood, it seemed more on the north side of the roundabout. So
Which is fine, we could also look into.
So it should be-
But we just need the petitions for the
Correct.
northern section.
We,
But it-
Before we.
we tabled that, so they were gonna come back with it, that was one of the follow-ups.
Yeah, we also talked about narrowing the lanes a little bit by adding a double.
Yeah.
I like what David had said, because that's a low cost thing, like just run an extra line of paint down there on the bike lane that already exists.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't conflict with traffic calming policy. Putting the bollards in, you have to meet your criteria. It's different, but putting the second line in, which other municipalities have done, could be a simple solution.
So can you do that, David? Can you double there is a bike lane, painted a line that's already there all the way along Gateway from St. John's all the way down to the school.
So I guess my.
Can you double paint that bike lane?
We don't have any, well, to my best understanding, we don't have any double line in the law.
Yeah.
Okay.
Potentially.
We're pushing for it.
But we're also looking at the ATMP, which they pretty much know about it. But there's no recommendation about double paint line. The ATMP won't be updated for every 5 years, so that's something that we can look into.
The next update.
It's approved in 2024, so.
I think though, Michael, the pavement markings along Gateway will be updated, how often do you renew those?
That would not have information on that.
Is that every 2 years or?
I have to ask my colleague about that, I don't have.
I think that was just,
Yeah, well,
My point is
It's
that
done last fall.
yeah,
I think consideration of adding the double line when you next repaint the markings anyways, you have to be out there with the crew to repaint it, is something to think about. And it wouldn't take much for staff to take a look to see if they added a second line, even if it was, 100 mils spacing with a 100 mil line, so that's 200 mils. You'd be reducing the width of that travel lane. What would be the resulting width of the travel lane? Would it meet your requirements?
I think we can look at any measure, but I think going back to the Chongqing policy, that if we don't have that petition for the northern part, we need that policy, we need that petitions.
You need that for traffic
Yeah.
calming solutions. You don't need
No,
that-
or the double line is considered to be a traffic calming measure, then that's something that we.
This is a bike lane, there are lots of bike lanes with double lines. It's in.
What kind of issue was that in the? I can
This
just
didn't
point to the
actually come
ATMP.
up, yeah, no, this didn't come up actually, but we do talk about buffered bike lanes, yeah. This would be, I guess you could lie a little bit color buffer. It's basically, adding a second line for the purpose of narrowing that traffic lane a little. It's still a bike lane, and it's still exactly what you have, so you're not changing the bike, you're just adding a second line. So I think it's something to think about, and is an easy fix as an interim solution until a petition comes for the other section, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to come up with a design solution
For the
just having on this whole corridor.
it's the whole stretch.
Yeah, It doesn't, but
So okay, that's that level, we wait for that petition for the local part, if that's
I
what
would-
the committee.
it was a traffic calming.
What I would do for traffic calming, I would say you put it on pause until you get that full stretch, until that comes back.
But why can't we recommend this committee?
We could do the bike.
We can recommend,
You can recommend
what
that.
David's saying, but I would say to look at the whole stretch of traffic calming, you would put pause.
Yeah, but adding that second line is a traffic calming. Really, it's just reinforcing the bike lane and taking advantage of the opportunity for the double line and narrow it. And I still think, that'll make the bike lane jump out a little bit more. And yes, it's a little bit more pain, so that's a consideration. But I don't think it conflicts with any policy you have, except the fact that there's some history of having a double line on any of your road. And other municipalities have them in your.
Yes, we just have to see if there's budget,
So
but
that's
it
the thing.
shouldn't be that expensive.
I have to consult with our ops team.
Would we want to use a yellow line?
No, you can't.
Want a double line?
It has to be.
Really?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think we can call it a pilot project, but
No, it's just a recommendation that when they next repeat the road for the bike lane, instead of a single line, you put a double line down. And that will also have the benefit of, reinforcing the bike lane, but also hopefully, having, a benefit would be traffic calming. I mean, the argument is some municipalities put in bike lanes as a traffic calming solution, even though there's not a lot of demand for cycling. They do
No,
that.
they-
We don't
but
wanna tell
our
people,
candidate-
we don't tell the
Yeah.
public and we don't tell ourselves that we're putting a bike lane as a traffic calming solution, because that's going to sound great for the cyclists who are using the bike lane, right? So that's not the intention, but you already have bike. So I think this could be an interesting solution, if you want to call it a pilot,
I was just thinking
a double lane line, you could do that, and if you don't like it in the future, that lane line will disappear in a few years, you just go back and put the single line.
I like it, to see if it's a traffic calming.
Yeah.
Tool. Now, but do you really wanna wait until they paint the lines again?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I think from efficiency, I mean, you paint your lines regularly. Like, must be every,
I can find out.
it must be every 1 to 2 years, depending on the road, like the paint doesn't last long.
We use plastic, so I think it lasts a little bit longer.
This is not, this is
I
paint,
I can actually
Okay.
confirm that with our ops team.
This is not paint,
it is,
it is.
it's not plastic. Okay, I think it's just,
I would
they
not.
changed the paint mixture a long time ago, and then
Okay.
it's more latex based, it doesn't last as long, unfortunately. So a lot of municipalities will go with a better coating, plastic coating, which lasts a lot longer, but it's more expensive.
Okay, what happens if the answer comes back, it's not gonna be for a couple of years? Or 18 months? No,
I'm not sure that's an issue, I mean, it seems a little odd to paint one brand new white line and we'd be able to know behind, and the other would be for
that would be, that's,
the
that would,
operator,
that
doing
would not look
installation.
very good.
I think it's better for them just to do it all once, and they'll do it at the same time. And if it's not, they don't plan to update it, the cost is just add that additional line. They're already budgeting to replace the line that they have.
Yeah,
From a cost perspective, I don't think we're gonna have much more.
So just to clarify, this is to enhance the cycling facility and it's not
Mhm.
directly related to traffic calming.
But it will have the,
You know,
that's right.
I would
It's not
enhance the
traffic,
cycling facility.
But it will have the effect, you're not narrowing that traffic.
Yes, but not directly related to traffic calming implementation.
I would mention traffic calming, I would mention the cycle facility, you're widening the cycle facility,
okay, then,
that's an easier.
Did you have numbers on that thing? And actually, if you look at the change book 18, given the volumes have on this road, guess what? It says you should have a buffer bank.
I wonder if that wasn't.
I was just looking that up. I was just looking at book 18, I was just going through.
uh-huh.
And I'm sorry I didn't put it in the 18 meeting. It didn't come up as an issue, to be honest with you. So, I don't recall it coming from this issue, even in the public meeting, so.
It's just that, I mean, before this was the word you were campaigning in, it was at large. And I know this has been an issue for really,
I had suggested to people, I knew that the process was put a petition together, so when I was campaigning, I was actively telling people, well, you need to get things together, contact the town, get a petition, and do all that, but, I mean, nothing came forward until the gentleman came forward with the south portion, but there was more complaints on the north portion.
Not like calling to my data this week.
Okay.
I could complain.
No.
We do have delegations to check.
so the complaints are generally the whole neighborhood.
The only one that we got that we received was the Adjournment for the South Park Gateway. That's the only request that we got. That's the only, so complaint on the speeding issue that we got on Gateway. Nothing on the notice section.
But that's where you have the signboard is there. What was the motivation to put the signboard on the north portion?
Enforce, control.
Oh, but did someone,
I didn't place it.
no, I know that, but it would have been, it was some time ago, that signboard, the 40-kilometer flashing signboard's been there for, I don't know.
I mean, the sign was also a nice reminder for driver, how fast they're driving, and it's also for pedestrian to look at, okay, that particular vehicles. It's only traveling 30, as opposed to like what they think of that, like 6 or 7, exactly.
Because people think that
Yeah.
vehicles are traveling more faster than they
Yeah.
actually are. It's true.
To me, it's the same kind of problem that we have on Kennedy coming off Bathurst. People are traveling quickly. They're making the turn and they're still in that mindset for traveling quickly. And I think that might be, that's why I would have thought people coming off St. John's.
Mhm.
But, okay, let's
Just
make,
one, the APG again was 2,500 folks per gateway.
So on table 1, we have just under 27, 2,669 vehicle per day. That's what we got.
Right, so in the manual, it just happens to be in that blue zone. So you're very close to where it would recommend when you put a buffer bike lane.
So we're still under that. Technically. Yes.
Just by a couple
Right
hundred,
on.
8,000, but you're close enough
yeah,
that, the idea of having that extra line is something you could easily justify and consider, because you want to do it for other reasons too. Anyways, I think that
Okay,
this
so-
committee could recommend that staff would have to consider.
this is the motion, okay? You ready?
No motion.
This is the recommendation. That the committee recommend to staff.
Right.
That,
When they next update the paint lines, edge lines for the bike lanes,
Or
or
sooner.
scenery. Right,
Or sooner.
or sooner,
that they explore the feasibility of adding a second line to reinforce the bike lane and to slightly narrow the travel lane.
Do we want to use, do we not just want to say that they do it?
Right, we
Patricia
should
says
recommend it.
no.
We can't.
Strongly
This
suggest.
is an advisory committee,
Yeah.
not a recommendation or direction.
Okay, so we have to be that way.
Strongly advised.
That's a recommendation.
You're,
No, but you can't.
We
Not
can't
according to your
recommend.
terms of reference.
What can we do?
Support and advise,
How do we advise unless we recommend?
you're advising.
and then that in the report, you're advising staff.
That means if Michael doesn't want us or advising. Doesn't do anything.
But you will put it in the
Yeah,
report.
no, I.
So, thank you.
So just that'll be for north and south portions of,
Where are the bike lanes?
All along.
all along,
Yeah.
the whole length, from the school to St. John's.
Right.
North and south, the roundabout.
Sorry,
What about the
are you recommending to go 400 mil? Solid or gap?
There's no, they stop.
I'm
There's
a 200 mile.
I'm proposing they gap it by 100 mils per second. So
Yeah, okay, yeah, because then
Jumps out a little bit.
that's right. And then space.
They already have one line. So
Oh, we
we're
just have one line.
No, okay, two. Okay, perfect. Okay, you got it? do have notes, yes. Patricia, you got it, yes. Two heads together. Okay, all those in favor?
Sorry.
We need a seconder. We'll get,
Member should be getting.
okay, all those in favor? Wow. Sure. We just need to, oh, no,
Support and advise.
Board and advice. Is there any new business?
New old business.
Okay.
I know about a year ago, Councillor, we talked about removing the snow from that stretch of the trail in the Arboretum from Senior Center Town Hall to Aurora Leisure Complex. Here we are, we're another winter, and I'm wondering where that possibility is at, because lots of people are walking along there and it's just.
How are they doing it with all this?
They're walking, they're snowshoeing, they're cross-country skiing, they're doing it, but I'm the depths of this winter are kind of getting me going, wow, wouldn't it be great if some seniors who wouldn't normally journey along there,
I understand.
if the trail was maintained, they would feel more comfortable walking along there. That's all.
Yes, and I don't remember exactly what staff said about that, but it was set precedent. And that would be problematic.
It's a regular surface trail, right?
No, it's paved.
Oh, it is.
That section, yes, right from Town Hall, Senior Center to Aurora Leisure Complex is paved. That's been for 10 years. There's other joining trails, Dave, that come in and out that are gravel, but the main portion of it is paved.
That it would start at John West Way.
Could start right at John West Way, just adjacent to the seniors,
And then,
go right to the parking lot at the Aurora Leisure Complex. It's paved the whole way.
I'm not sure why that was set precedent, because the policy is that you don't clear your grade and your surface trails in the work. All your trails are graded and surface, but this is paved.
The issue would be where it's a priority. You have over 200 kilometers of sidewalk to clear. So when you're allocating resources, snow removal resources, at what point and what's the expectation? So if we're saying we're doing it, or we're recommending it gets done, it's gonna be so far down that priority list that you're gonna have a constant amount of complaints, because it's not gonna be clear to what people's expectations are. So I think if you do decide to do it, you're setting yourselves up for failure. That's all I'm saying. We have a heavy winter, we have a light winter, no problem. We have a heavy winter, you're gonna set yourselves up for problems.
But I mean, I must say, like the last 2 weeks, the sidewalk plowing has been like exceptional. I don't know what, like seriously. No, Michael, it's mind blowing. I know.
Message.
I said at the beginning of the meeting, I said the same thing.
They've been up and down Mugford 2 times in the last 48 hours. Salting, plowing. Mugford's not even a.
yeah, I'm finding that very interesting.
And Oshawa doesn't even salt, like I think the Irina has salt,
So
so that's
anyway,
really
so
impressive, yeah.
I hear what you're saying, Owen. Like,
Yeah.
it does get a bit precedent setting, but it would be a great opportunity to open up a 1 kilometer section of trail that would allow, at this time of year, people who are not quite as mobile to get out into the park and.
How many other sections of trail do you have, off-road trail that's actually paved?
I don't know.
Like, are there any others?
I can't think of another section.
No, I can't either.
I don't think we have.
Maybe that's something we should think about, because maybe if it's a paved trail, maybe we apply the sidewalk service standard to it, because it's a paved trail. And
I mean, the machinery is all just adjacent, it's all stored just right to there, but it's sitting right there.
Oh, hopefully it's not just sitting
Hard
there, but
surface.
yeah, I get
Oh, it's
your
not
point.
working, but they would have to just cut through and then they're
Yeah.
back,
to the senior
they're back at the.
Okay.
And it's senior center, the rec center.
Would we, okay, we want to recommend that this be,
Oh, yeah, it would still have to be a trail.
what's a better word than
That
legal?
doesn't mean we can't, but sidewalk. It's no trails, it's still have to call it a trail.
How about I just
Yeah.
talk to Sarah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, do that. We're gonna go through. Yeah. Okay, we hear you.
I don't wanna extend it, we're past 9, so I don't wanna.
No, but Patricia has an excellent idea.
Thank you.
I wrote Charles.
I know it's one of these
me too.
easy things, it seems really easy, but I gotta create stuff.
It's-
Like.
And they were just following.
As long as it's still a trail, the liability doesn't change for the municipality.
You're not deeming it
If we-
sidewalk.
If we deemed it a sidewalk, that would change everything.
Just the length.
World changing.
Yeah. As long as there's a recreational trail, liability is quite different for municipality compared to sidewalk or road.
Okay, so I would like to have a motion to adjourn. Who wants to? Heidi,
Sure, I'll-
let the ladies do it. Okay, all
Thank you,
those in
ladies.
favor. And I know there's none opposed, so.
Good meeting.